Like, I just wanted to pass dental school. That was it. Like, most people are like, I'm definitely going to be the next big oral surgeon. I want to have my own practice. I want to do ortho. I was like, I just want to pass.
Welcome, guys, to another Marketing for Dentists interview. And today I have the great privilege of having Dr. Ruth with me. Thank you so much for coming on, Ruth.
Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, we've had a few conversations before and that sort of thing. And what I want to kick it off with is, if you were not a dentist, what do you think you would have been?
Oh, if I wasn't a dentist, I definitely think I would be either working in forensic science somewhere, because that's what my first degree was in, or I would have been a journalist and working in some sort of magazine or publication or something to that domain.
Okay, those are like polar differences between forensic and then obviously presenter and that. So why these things? So why did you end up with dentistry then?
So initially, when I was really young, I wanted to do medicine, and that wasn't forced on me. I don't know where that came from. Just said I always said I wanted to become a doctor, and then I don't know, when I was around 6 or 7, I kind of changed my mind and just thought, no, I don't think I like the idea of doing medicine. So I knew I wanted to do something kind of science-based, and then dentistry kind of seemed like the next best thing, without kind of having to do medicine. But in between all that time as well, I've always loved reading, always loved writing. So I did have a period of time where I really thought, oh, maybe I'll go into journalism or something on the domains of that, or write books, or some sort of like creative, the arts kind of direction is where I thought I might go. Then kind of, I love the arts, but then also really like the science behind things as well. So my dad being a dental technician was able to kind of get me some work experience. And I thought, you know, initially the first week of work experience, I really didn't enjoy it. I think it was more a reflection of the practice that I was in. Didn't enjoy it. I thought, this is not for me. I can't see myself doing this at all. And then I got work experience elsewhere, and I was like, whoa, okay, this completely changes things. I could definitely see myself doing this job because of how the practice was, how they treated the patients, what they offered to patients as well in terms of services. And I thought, yeah, that's more up my street. So that point, when I was around like 15, 16, I think my heart was kind of set on dentistry. And yeah, that was kind of what I decided to do. So I kind of put my journalistic sort of dream to one side, because I guess the science dream's a bit stronger, and then just followed that route and path and ended up here where I am today.
Okay. So it sounds like that journalistic presenter, it might come out again at some point.
I think so. I mean, I enjoy dentistry, but I don't think I'll do it forever. So I do think that, yeah, at some given point that, you know, kind of, I wouldn't say that the dream is dead, because it's not. It's probably just lying dormant a little bit. I definitely do think that will kind of re-evoke itself. But yeah, I might just go down that avenue instead at some given point.
Okay, brilliant. And you talked about reading a lot. Can you tell me maybe one book that's like made the biggest impact on you?
Ooh. Okay, so there are many. There are so many. The one that jumps out at me just when you said it, I always start Something That Matters, and that's the name of the book, and it's by a guy called Blake Mycoskie. And I read that when I was resitting my 4th year in dental school, and I think that really changed things for me, because it made me realize that what I was going through at the time wasn't just for myself. Like, there was a lot more that I had to offer and to give in regards to becoming a dentist, and I guess kind of like a bit more of like an entrepreneurial side of things, and like doing things pro bono in that domain as well. So that really kind of changed my trajectory of things after reading that book. So that's one book I think really, really changed things for me massively.
Okay, so what was it, if you don't mind me asking, what was it about that particular time in your life when, you know, that you were going through, that you needed, this book came in and obviously shifted your perspective or stuff?
So at the time the time I read it, I think I just failed 4th year, if I'm not mistaken. And I was told that I had to resit the year. And I went to a very small dental school. So if you passed or failed exams, kind of everybody knew about it inadvertently. So to be on the losing end, for want of a better way to put it, where I was failing and everybody knew, it was painful. It hurt my pride. besides other things, I was just finding things really difficult. So I remember when I got the results and I was just absolutely devastated. We used to get like 6 weeks off for summer. So I came home to Essex, where I'm originally from, for the summer for 6 weeks, and just wanted to take my mind off the prospect of having to go back and resit, and picked up this book, which I'd heard about a bit about like the previous year. And it just kind of made me realize that, whoa, like, although you're going through this really difficult time at the minute, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it was just nice to read other people who had been through, in some cases, similar situations, or had seen a problem that they wanted to fix. So for example, for my situation, it's like, okay, yes, you're in dental school, but there's more that you can give and offer besides the fact that you finish and qualify, get a job, and live the life that you want to live. So how else can you give back to somebody else in need, whether it's through kind of just giving simple things like oral hygiene instruction or other things like that, or maybe there's other ways in which I can use the skills that I have gained through dental school to give back in another way, shape or form, or maybe encourage somebody else who's in a similar situation to me in school, or, has failed a few exams in the past and doesn't know what to do and, thinks that it's the end of the road. So I think from that perspective, it changed things, because I realized that there was purpose in everything that was happening, because dental school was really, really difficult for me. So to read that book and to see how people had used disadvantages and turn them into advantages, I was like, okay, this isn't forever. It's just for a time and season. And then I was able to kind of use that to help propel me forward.
Okay, wow, that's crazy. And obviously, I know when it comes to failure, a lot of people think, one of the biggest, difficult things about failure is, what are people going to say? What are people, and you mentioned obviously you had a small dental school and everyone kind of knew about it. And how did you deal with that in your own mind of, people must think I am this, or people must think I'm a failure, or, just kind of the thoughts around what people think about you?
Yeah, it wasn't easy, because I was finding it tough for myself, but then alone having to then think about what other people think about me as well. I think sometimes in moments like that, we have perceptions of like, oh, this person must think this about me, that person must think that about me, when maybe they're not even thinking that at all, because let's face facts, we're all pretty self-centered, as much as we don't want to admit it, but we're all self-centered, we all kind of care about ourselves and the people closest to us. So more times than not, people are probably not that into what you have or haven't done, but we're made to kind of internalize things. I think that comes a lot of shame and even pride, not pride in the good sense, but the negative aspect of pride as well. So I look back over those kind of 5 years that I was in dental school, and I realized there was a lot of things that within me that really weren't great, from a characteristic perspective. So me kind of caring too much about what people thought, like, you can't live your life like that, regardless of what environment or career path or job that you do. Like, if you are gonna think that every day that you wake up is on the basis of what somebody thinks of you, then the minute that they criticize you, your world will come crumbling down. And you can't live your life like that. So I had to learn through that example and that, the experience that I had, that, there's sometimes when you just have to eat humble pie. If you screwed up or you've made a mistake, admit it, learn from it, and then grow and do better. And interestingly enough, when I actually eventually qualified, I was surprised the number of people who came up to me and said, you know what, I'm so happy that you finished and you've qualified now, because I know how difficult it was for you, and there's no way I could have gone through what you went through. Well, I even had lecturers tell me I was observing you for the whole duration of time and just seeing how things would go, and just to see that you've made it through is such an inspiration. So I was surprised that all the things that I thought people were thinking of me was actually the contrary in some cases, to see the kind of impact that I had without even knowing on certain individuals who were kind of in my environment at the time.
So you can see there was almost like there were people that were probably rooting for you as well to like actually make it, and, seeing you do it. That's absolutely amazing. And just kind of dwelling a bit on this kind of subject of failure, because I know looking at your Instagram, you've done a few posts and you've talked about it quite a bit. And something that caught my eye, you did a post and it was around the idea that failure is the foundation of success, to success. Yeah. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at it, depends how how anybody kind of values and deems success. Ultimately, if you see success as like money and financial gain and wealth and how many cars you have sitting in front of your house or how many bedrooms your house is, etc., then cool. Like if that's how you deem success, that's how you deem success. But anybody who we deem as successful, whether that be your Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey's, the man down the street, whoever it is, I guarantee they will probably tell you something they all failed at, you know? So you can't expect to be successful at something having not screwed up somewhere along the line. And I always believe that failure is probably one of the best teachers you can learn. That's if you're willing to learn for what it has to teach you. If you would rather hide from failure or dismiss it or try and push it aside and pretend like it didn't happen, well, then more for you, because you've lost out on amazing opportunities to actually learn and grow from that. So coming back to the saying about failure being the foundation of success, I believe that's true, because anybody great in what it is that they do as their career, professional, the day-to-day life will tell you, yeah, there were things along the way that didn't go as smoothly as I hoped, you know, it was out of my control, but I learned from it. And the mistakes that I learned from it, I've been built in it. And I know that next time I won't do the same thing again, or I've known how to rectify it. And as a result of that, it's made me better, and it's helped me to help other people as well, so other people don't make the same mistakes. That's literally all success is, I feel, in my personal opinion. That's it in a nutshell.
Because we're so conditioned to think failure's bad, and failure's not nice, you know, like we've just talked about.
No, it's not.
It doesn't feel nice at all. But it's, how do you think we can change our relationship with failure, in the sense that how can we start to appreciate it, even though it's hard and, you know, it's not nice, and, you know?
I think it has to start from the individual, and we've got to be more open about discussing things that don't go right. They do it in medicine, you know. I think it's something that we haven't really conquered as much in dentistry, and I can't remember the actual term for it. I remember I read it in a book once, but they do it a lot in medicine. Like they have, like, I think monthly meetings or so of cases that maybe were like near misses or things like that, and they sit there and discuss what went wrong. Okay, how can we actually sort of like rectify this so it doesn't happen again? And I know that within dentistry in some cases isn't as multidisciplinary as medicine is. I'm not saying it isn't completely, but not as much so. So I think if we were a lot more honest about our failures or cases that didn't go as well as we thought they were going to go and things like that, we would learn from it, learn how not to do it again, and other people would learn from it as well. Yeah, that's one of the ways I think we have to be a bit more open. I also think as well, I think social media is great for dentistry and what it's done, but I think there's pros and cons to everything. I think some of the dangers is that everybody wants to put their best foot forward, and I would hold my hand up and say exactly the same thing. Like, you only want to post your best cases and things like that, because you know there's going to be critique potentially from other peers, and also that potentially prospective patients might see your work and then decide whether or not they choose to come to you or somebody else. So you've got to be wise and strategic about what you post. But at the same time, maybe if somebody posted a case that didn't go as well as they thought it was going to go, that could be like a sounding board for other dentists within the community to actually say, hey, I had a similar situation, and in the end I did X, Y, and Z, and this helped. Maybe you should try that next time. But we don't do that enough, you know? And so I think to myself, if I was a young dentist now and had this world of Instagram or social media at my fingertips, and I was seeing dentists post these amazing cases, and not really understanding the backstory about how they actually got there. And when I say got there to that final result, I'm talking about how many cases they did before that maybe didn't go as well. You can kind of be fooled into thinking that, oh, they've just posted this case, they've done this, that's it, fantastic, wow. So you feel like you've got to go from 0 to 100 real quick, and you actually haven't, okay? Because there's a lot that you have to learn in that space of time. So I think we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to others to just be honest. And the more honest that we actually are within like the dental community, hopefully that you just kind of encourage that environment more and more, that other people just learn and grow from it, and just decide that, hey, you know, it's not a bad thing to kind of maybe post a case that I didn't do as well as I could have done, what I learned from it, and how somebody else can learn from it as well, and then take it from there.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's crazy. I can't wait to start seeing these posts where people posting their bad cases.
Is it gonna happen though? This is the question. Is it gonna happen? So we'll
Yeah,
see.
they would take the real brave ones. But I think,
Exactly.
I think things are changing a lot. And I think even when you look at the millennial generation, I think there's a lot of change that's happening. Because even
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to dentistry, you have the younger people starting to, take over and do different things and that sort of thing. And not saying that people that were there before didn't do what they needed to do. They did do it with the circumstances that they had, and all the constraints that they had. But yeah, that's quite amazing. Failure, I love that. When people talk about failure in a positive light, because obviously a lot of the time, especially in school, failure is bad. You're taught, failure is bad. You're not taught,
Yeah.
you can learn from this. This is how you can do it better. It's meant to be a bad thing, and people are almost shamed for it.
Yeah.
Which is, really bad. And just moving on from that slightly, we talked about confidence. So one thing that I kept saying was that you come across as very naturally confident.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually said to me that you were not always confident. So tell me
Mm-hmm.
a bit about that transition from just not being as confident to being where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm relatively confident, but I wouldn't say I still have my moments. So I don't feel like I've mastered confidence at all. But I think confidence ultimately has to come from within. You've kind of got to, just as cliche as it sounds, you've got to believe in yourself and what it is that you believe that you can do. And sometimes as well, with confidence comes this whole fake it till you make it thing as well. Because I've met people like that. I've worked with people like that who they're just so ballsy and gutsy. They can walk into a room and literally they command the room just because they ooze confidence. And the reality of it is that certain people I can think of now, like they weren't qualified enough for the jobs that they went for, but they got the job. And the reason they got the job is because the confidence sold it. So, not everybody's like that. Some of us will kind of shy away from things, and certain circumstances might break our confidence down, and then we have to slowly sort of build it up. But I think it's just about learning and bouncing back from when things haven't gone as well. And I think the reason why I've had to slowly sort of build up on my confidence is just because of my experience in dental school predominantly, because I failed so much, like it really stripped me of all the confidence that I had. So there were times when I just didn't think I could face going into dental school another day, because I just thought, I don't even know if I'm supposed to do this. If I keep on failing, like, am I really supposed to be doing this job? But bit by bit, as time went on, I was able to sort of get that confidence back. And that was really helpful. So I don't think I actually started to sort of really see changes in myself in terms of like building my confidence back until after I graduated. I remember in the first year after qualifying, when I was doing like my, I think we used to call it BT year, but the equivalent of my foundation year, I was still struggling with confidence, to be honest. And that's with me qualified, still working as a dentist. But I still would go home and think, oh gosh, did I do the right thing? Maybe I didn't. And I'd sit there like taking the day, I've gone home, like work is finished. I'm still sitting there pondering over what I didn't do and what I shouldn't have done, and worrying about things. So there comes a point where sometimes as well, when it comes with confidence, maybe from specifically from a dental perspective, the more certain procedures you do, the more confidence you build up as a result of it as well. And so that, okay, if I see a tooth that's badly broken down or whatever else and grossly carious, I know that I have the confidence to extract that tooth confidently, because I've done many other extractions similar to that before. So it comes from experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I think one thing that I was trying to, one thing that I learned more recently is even just the difference between confidence and self-esteem. And I like how that a lot of confidence is all about actually putting yourself in certain situations. Whereas self-esteem a lot of time is just whether you love yourself enough and you think you're valuable enough and that sort of things. And so, like, how is there anything that you kind of do to try and help you build that, like, consistently and that sort of thing?
I can't say there's anything like special that I do. Like, I don't have any sort of like daily mantras or anything like that. I'd be lying to you if I said that I did. And like I said earlier on, like there are some days where I come home deflated from work. Like I'm just going to be real, you know, because in this job, you're trying to please patients who have a certain agenda in their head about how they want to look and or what they want the treatment to be, you know, and how they want it to be achieved. And sometimes, you know, sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, or sometimes you're doing certain cases that are a little bit more complex. You know, as you get more experience in the profession, you might take on the things that are a little bit more complex, which is understandable, but you might still feel like you're a little bit out of your depth. So in those moments, I don't always feel as confident, but I still have to maintain a level of, I guess, integrity and I guess professionalism that I try at my hardest not to let the patient lose confidence in me. But even in saying that, that has happened. I'm not going to lie and say it hasn't happened. There are some patients that you're never going to please everybody. There are some patients that I just haven't been able to win over. And I'd rather I find out now than later on down the line. And so when that has happened, but it's actually happened quite recently, I was able to put my hand up and say, look, clearly you and me, it's not going to work, this sort of like patient dentist relationship. So I was able, thankfully, to refer the patient to another dentist in practice who was able to kind of carry things on and hopefully give the patient what they were looking for, you know? So I think with that also comes wisdom, because you have to know like what you should be attempting, what you probably shouldn't do, and when to know to ask for help. And so that you don't keep on kind of swimming in deep water and then end up out of a complete depth that you can't actually swim any longer, you know? So yeah, you just have to be sensible about things.
Okay. Very interesting. And also I know you've been, you know, you've been shortlisted for some awards, and also you've featured in like Pride magazine and stuff like that. So talk to me a bit about that. Like so if someone was in a position where they're like, I would like to get out there a bit more and do more stuff and get recognized for things, what kind of things would you be saying to them?
I think in some cases, you've literally got to put your best foot forward. You've got to go knocking on some doors, because some of these opportunities, not all of them, some of them didn't come to me. Like I had to go looking for them. So, you know, being featured in magazines, it was just by me reaching out and saying, hey, you know what, I would love to write a feature for you guys. That's how it kind of started with Pride magazine. I was like, you know, I'd love to write a feature for you guys for the community, because their demographic was exactly kind of, I'm their demographic ultimately. And then through conversation, they was like, hey, you know what, actually would love to do like a 2-page feature on you instead. And that's how I ended up in the magazine, which was amazing. So without me kind of reaching out to them, it would have never have happened. That being said as well, there are other, you know, circumstances where I've had amazing opportunities given to me because people have said, hey, I love what you're doing. Would you like to collaborate? And that's all great. And if I do feel like it's the right opportunity, then I'll accept it and gladly participate. But more times than not, you've literally just got to put your best foot forward, because if you sit there twiddling your thumbs thinking that things are going to fall from the sky into your lap, well, you could be sitting there for a long time. So it's not to say that that can't happen. I do believe that it can, and I can, you know, give testimony of that as well. But at the same time, I think sometimes you've got to go out and you've got to grab it by the hands. And the worst somebody can tell you is no. So if Pride magazine had told me no, I would have said, okay, fair enough. Probably would have tried again a year later or gone elsewhere, you know? So if they tell you no and you're prepared for the no, but you get a yes, that's fantastic, you know? So it's almost like, don't be afraid to hear no. No is still a valid answer. It's a valid answer to receive, and it's a valid answer to give. So yeah, if that's what your fear is, you've got to get over that fear quickly. And then if you're told no for something, try again later on or try somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because again, it goes back to that fear thing again. Everyone's so we're terrified of being told no.
Yeah.
It's almost like if someone says no to you, it's almost like that, you know, they've written a whole book about how they hate you in your life and everything that you do and everything. But they haven't. It's just that, okay, at this particular time, you may not be the best, you know, for this opportunity that's here and that sort of thing. What are some things that you're looking forward to in like the world of dentistry, like with where things are going and that sort of thing?
So I've had this, I'm still working with them, amazing opportunity to work with a company called Waken Dental Care, which has been really, really amazing so far in terms of what they've been able to achieve. And that's really kind of tackling head on like the aspects of sustainable dentistry, because dentistry at the minute, well, it's getting there, but we're nowhere near where we need to be in terms of sustainability. We have a lot of single-use items that we use on a daily basis because we have to by law for certain procedures and stuff. But where we can, I think, sort of like change things, we should be making change. So Waken is just like kind of like a brainchild behind that, and so it's really great working alongside them, and that's a prime example of kind of putting your best foot forward in terms of like how we were able to collaborate and meet and stuff, because had it not been for me sort of reaching out, that would have probably never have happened. So you never know what kind of opportunities are around the door, and like I said, the worst thing that someone can tell you is no. But if they tell you yes, then, well, fantastic. That's what you want to hear ultimately. And then you just sort of run with it and take it from there.
And what are some actual ways that you reach these people? Is it like social media, or is it, you know?
Yeah, so I am someone I'm not afraid to email somebody. So if I can find an email address, I will email. If it's social media, I will social media. Whatever it is, I will send a message and make sure that it's polite. And make sure that it's, that my intentions of what it is that I'm looking for, or what, even sometimes just giving not just a compliment for the sake of giving compliments, like a genuine compliment. Like if you really like what someone is about, then put your best foot forward and say, hey, you know what? I've been following you on social media for a while. I've seen this, this, and this. I'd love to find out more about how you were able to get to that, achieve this in this particular case. Would it be possible if I could come and shadow you one day? Like, do you ever allow a young dentist to come shadow you? I've done that before, and I've managed to get, I say work experience, even as a dentist, to shadow some amazing dentists in really great practices in London through that opportunity. You know, the worst they could have told me was no, but they told me yes, and I got to spend the day with them, just learning off them as well. So, you know, you've kind of got to just bite the bullet and do it. And, you know, if you get that no, or you get that the message has been read but not been responded to, don't let it break your heart. Okay. Don't let it break your heart, because that person could be going through something and just hasn't had the time to respond, or maybe they don't want to respond. If they don't want to respond, then great, that's fine. It's still a valid response. Just move on to somewhere else and try not to dwell on it too much.
Okay. And what would you say about the patient side of things? Because obviously what I do, marketing and reaching patients and that sort of thing. What would you see? Where do you see things going? And since you started and coming through, obviously a lot of people are doing a lot more cosmetic dentistry and that sort of thing. So what have you seen, and what do you think are good ways that people can reach their patients?
Well, I think social media is a great way to reach patients. So if that's what you're using, your Instagram page or Facebook or whatever it might be, whatever medium you're using to target patients, then you've got to do it and do it well and do it strategically. So that's a great way to kind of get patients through the door. I also think as well through word of mouth. Word of mouth is still really, really important. I think we forget about how important word of mouth is, because if you know somebody who's been somewhere for treatment or bought something or whatever else it might be, and they rate highly of it, then, you know, it's like, okay, well, I trust this individual, and I know that they wouldn't kind of send me somewhere that was, you know, going to just take my money and not do anything else. Then you kind of think, well, because of that trusted advice from this individual, I'm willing to kind of take that risk and that chance. Word of mouth is still really, really powerful. So I don't think we should forget the power that it has, because it still holds a lot of weight, even in the world of social media.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because I think recommendations is the best way of marketing.
Yeah.
Because I'll say to people, even if you're going to do like, you know, social media, whatever else, ads and all these different things, I'll say you have to be pushing toward recommendations and word of mouth, because, you know, there is the conversion rate when it comes to recommendations, word of mouth, is just phenomenal, because that's someone who has experienced your service saying, I went there, it was absolutely amazing, you know, and you should go there too. And that person will definitely go there if they're looking for that treatment. But a lot of us sometimes we focus a bit too much on our marketing messages than the experience once someone comes in.
Yeah.
Because that's the best marketing you can ever do. They come in, they have a great experience, and they tell people about it. Also, the tragic thing about it is that when people come in and have a bad experience, they're more likely to tell someone than the person who loved it.
Exactly. And that's for everything. That's for everything, you know? So we have to be careful. And this is like, we're only human. Like, we put our best foot forward and things like that. And yeah, you try the dentist to do the best that you can for every patient, but it's not every patient you're going to satisfy. And I'm learning that as well. Like, it's not every patient that's going to be happy. You'll try your best to rectify things where you can, but sometimes you won't always do that. So that goes across the board with anything, whether you're buying a car, you're having a complete smile makeover, your, you know, experience with the local supermarket or shop down the road, whatever it might be. Like, we can all have good and bad experiences. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what are some things that you actually do with your patients to kind of just give them a good experience? Is there any little things that you do for your patients, or when they're in the chair or anything?
So, I mean, I think for me, although I'm an associate in the practice, I don't own a practice, it definitely starts from the minute the patient rings the practice to make an inquiry. And it's who they meet, who they speak to on the phone, and how that individual is on the opposite side of the phone. Because you've got a really anxious patient who knows they need treatment and need to be seen. It's just like, well, was the person on the phone gruff with me, or were they really pleasant? What was the tone of their voice like? How did they sound? Yeah, they sounded really nice. Okay, that's one hurdle. Like the next step is then, like, you know, all that nowadays, the pre-COVID checks and things like that. So from the minute that they walk through the door, I think they've already made an assumption about the sort of presence. So yes, you could even go as far as like, what does your website look like? Because most people, you ask them, like, how did you find out about this? Oh, I was looking for a dentist in the area, and I went on your website, liked what I saw, and thought I'd get booked in, you know. And then they come in to the waiting room, for example. What does the waiting room say? Is it clean? First of all, is the waiting room clean? Are there things to read? Like, have you got information about the dentist on the wall? If you have a TV screen, like, what's being played on there? You know, just different things, like what's the ambience and the vibe like, and the mood like in that place. And then when they come into the dental practice, just make them feel welcomed. And also, I like to let the patient know that they're in control. So that if they want me to stop at any point, I tell them, just put your hand up and I'll stop straight away. Some patients are really nervous and they need to know that they've got that control, because they've probably had previous bad experiences as a child, or they've heard horror stories and they just don't want that repeated on themselves. So kind of letting them know that they have an essence of control usually puts them at rest as well. And then sometimes as well, like in some cases, one way that I kind of go above and beyond, if there's been patients that I've seen who've had quite complex treatment, or I've had to sort of like re-evaluate or reassess them for certain things, I would try and call them personally, you know. The practice that I'm in now is a lot bigger than the one that I was working in. The one I was working in previously was a lot smaller. So I think because of that, I had a lot more sort of like interaction on a kind of lower level, if that makes sense. So for example, after every extraction that I did, I would always call the patient before I left that day. Always, because I needed the patient to know that we cared about them. If they had any concerns, they could call me. And it wasn't something that the principal did, and it wasn't something that the principal made a point of doing or said that everyone should do it. It's just something that I wanted to do on a personal level, and I could tell that it made the difference as well. And now being in the bigger practice, I don't always have the capacity to do that because we are just so busy. But there are certain patients that I'm like, no, I'll make a note that at the end of the day, I'll call them, you know. And I think I've learned that in some cases, having that personal touch from the dentist really makes a difference. It could be the difference between the patient putting a complaint in and actually saying, you know what, I'm actually not going to put the complaint in because, wow, they've gone above and beyond for me, because I know how busy they are. And they could have easily got the receptionist to make this phone call just to sort of find out the few creases I've got with this treatment plan or things I don't understand, but they've gone above and beyond to just sort of make that difference in my day. And it does make a difference. I can testify to that. So I think you just have to, you know, it's a case-by-case basis. I'm not saying do it for every single patient, but there are certain patients or certain cases that you might be doing where having that personal touch, it just puts an extra stamp of approval on things that makes a difference.
Those are some amazing tips. And I like what you said about, you know, giving the patient control. I feel like it's one of those things where if I was a dentist, I'd be thinking that I went to school for like 5 years not to come here and give you control. So but I love that. There's such a great humility and, you know, in that, and a great strength in it as well, because people think humility is weak, but humility is amazingly strong. So no, that's really good. And also, what are some things that you're most proud of so far in your dental career, or in where you're at in life at the moment?
I think I'm proud that I've made it this far, because like I said, like my journey through dental school was horrendous. So to be at this point in stage, 6 years in, we've had, done a range of different jobs, loads of experience under my belt. Like I couldn't have fathomed this at all. Like I just wanted to pass dental school. That was it. Like most people are like, I'm definitely going to be the next big oral surgeon. I want to have my own practice. I want to do ortho. I was like, I just want to pass. That's it. I had no other agenda besides just passing. And I'm so grateful that the way things have gone in terms of the jobs that I've had and opportunities, like I look back and I'm thinking, wow, like thank God I've got a wealth of experience in different domains that has really helped me. It's helped to sharpen me in so many different ways. And like, I know, and in no way am I saying that I feel like I've conquered it all or that I know it all, because I really don't. But I'm grateful that I haven't kind of been stuck in a rut for the last 6 years, that I've had other opportunities to meet new people, to learn off other more seasoned clinicians, and just grow as a person, grow as an individual within dentistry. Like I'm really proud of that ultimately. Besides, accolades and stuff, which are all great. I'm not detracting from that at all. But I think just, so doing the jobs that I've had and just growing from that, it helps me to be the best that I can be every day that I go into work.
Okay. And what would you say to the fourth year dental student Ruth that was in the, down in the dumps, you've just been told you've not passed the year and you're just completely down? If you had to go back to that Ruth, what would you say to her?
I would just say things get better, although at the time I couldn't see the wood for the trees and I was unsure how, but things will get better. If I knew now what I knew back then, I would be like, okay, there's hope. There's hope. But at the time when I was in the thick of it, no, I was lost. Like I can't even begin to explain. Like I was ready to like say, that's it, I am done, I quit, like call it the end of the road. I don't want to do this anymore. So things get better for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just, finally, as we wrap it up, if I always ask people this question, and obviously we've had various conversations, and I think most things that we do in life are about really making an impact, changing someone's life. And and what would you say, if I was to ask you what's the impact that you're trying to make in life, what would you say it was? Whether it's dentistry, your own things that you do in your own personal time, what would you say?
That's a really big question. I guess ultimately, everybody, without maybe even confessing it from their mouth, everybody wants to leave an impact on the world. No matter how small or big it is, you want to kind of leave your dent on the world so somebody knows this person was here before me. And I guess that's it for me. Like there's a lot of things that I want to accomplish in dentistry and outside of it as well. And I just hope that in what I do, I do it to the best of my ability, and that in years to come, there might be, for example, someone who's in the dental school that I was in a similar situation, and they might hear through the grapevine my journey and story and think, well, she made it, then I can, and that might be it. That might just be it. And that might be enough to get that person from point A to point B, and they finish and qualify and do amazing things. So I think the mark that you leave doesn't have to be this, tremendous marks. For some of us, it will be, where, your name will be in rooms that you haven't even walked in and whatever else. But then for others, it may not be that big, but the impact could just be just as strong. So I guess in a nutshell, it's just to sort of leave a mark on the world that's a positive one, a good one, and one that people kind of look back and think, oh, I learned so much from this particular individual because she went through this, this, and this, and it encouraged me at that time when I was struggling with my exams at school or university or whatever else it might be. And I've used that moving forward, and I've never forgotten it.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there anything that you are doing at the moment that you would like, other dentists or other people to know about?
Not specifically. Not specifically. I'm just, being consistent with what I do, get up, go to work when I've got to go to work, and do the best that I can at work. And then there's other things in the pipeline outside of that. from a writing perspective that I'm still sort of working on and wanting to do, but it's still very, very early stages yet. And then, yeah, hopefully one day I'll be able to kind of like cross the two over, or to kind of like be able to forge another kind of career or pathway down that route as well, whether or not the two actually link up at some point or not, who knows, but we'll just see what kind of the future holds and then take it from there.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out a bit more about you, or just, you know, get in touch with you, how can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram as Dr. Ruth, and Ruth is spelled Rooth, because it's a combination of my name Ruth and Tooth. It's like a, yeah, you can't miss the branding on that one. And then I do have a website as well. The website is mainly for, I guess you can say it's kind of like an online CV sort of thing. So, but I can be contacted through the website as well. Those are the two best places to kind of contact me. And then, yeah, I'll just kind of usually try and respond pretty quickly when I've got the time and capacity to do so, and then take it from there.
Brilliant. And just as we end as well, I just thought, you know, I just like to commend you for what you're doing. Like, I absolutely love your story, the fact that you struggled so much in dental school and you actually were able to overcome that. A lot of people don't overcome that. They, you know, they fail and that's it. They give up. But the fact that you came through all of that, you know, I can relate to many failures in my own life. So you are actually a great inspiration to a lot of people. A lot of people will hear your story and go on and achieve great things. So I do think the impact that you say you're trying to make, you are actually already making. And I can imagine you're going to do so much more. And hopefully we'll have another conversation, and I'm sure the next time we even have this kind of conversation, you'll be even further.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, here's hoping. So we'll see what the future holds. You know, I'm just trying to be a good steward of what I've got and see what doors it opens up as a result. So yeah, thank you for that. And hopefully, yeah, other things will happen as a result that will take me on to greater heights. We'll see what happens.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ruth.
Thanks. Thank you for interviewing me.
Good. And thank you everyone for watching and listening to this interview. So if you do like this content, please do remember to like, subscribe, and also we will leave Ruth's details at the bottom in the description. You can feel free to reach her, like what she's doing, and follow her.